Hey guys, Roger here, pastor of Preaching and Vision at Matthew's Table. We're glad that you decided to join us and tune in to see our service. I would say that this isn't something that we hope you replace your local church with, but this is something to just build on that and encourage you and help you see Jesus in a bigger, better way.
I'm Pastor Nick Martin, pastor of Discipleship and Outreach, and we pray this just blesses you and grows you in your relationship with Christ. So they've been gracious to let us use their parking lot. So next Sunday, it starts at 7. We'll have food and fireworks, 7 till dark. Come enjoy the fireworks with us at Good Shepherd. Yep, the one by the bypass. So if you need the address, just text me. But yes, it's on Biddle Road. Yeah. So Good Shepherd on Biddle Road. If you pay your water bill, it's kind of right by there. Yeah. Nah. But whoa, this last week, me and my family, we went on vacation, and I won the surf competition. Yeah. Nah, just kidding. We heard about that. Nah, I don't. They was like, who's this guy out here on this boogie board? Getting splashed by every wave. No, but as I was really studying to preach this week, 2 things amazed me down there. Like, every time I go to Florida, I'm amazed at how big the ocean is. Come on. Like, when you look at the ocean, you don't think about how big you are. You think, wow, this ocean just goes on for seemingly like forever. And the second thing that always points me to is how big the God we serve is. You know, like I heard my brother, they went on a separate vacation to a richer part of Florida. But they went on a separate vacation, and his daughter, I heard him talk about yesterday, she was like, Dad, what's stopping the water from coming over and just engulfing Florida? And it's just amazing the way God's designed everything and the way God has placed everything together in perfect order and perfect harmony. And as me and my family were down there, Tamara and Heather were sending me updates on their plans for the back to school bash. I'm very, very excited about what they're working on. As you've seen on Facebook or the mass text we sent out, we are looking for people to adopt a family at the Cadillac or Colonial. So in adopting a family, the difference is, as Matthew's Table, we would used to go do these big events. You know, we would go and show up, and we would do this big event at the Cadillac or at other places. And then sometimes, we would struggle because it'd be like, okay, but what's happening after the event? Like, we met a lot of people, but what's next? So what they focused on is they're asking people to adopt a family, but the difference is this isn't just a one-time event where we do good for the day and then we pack up and we'll see you later. Our aim now is to build relationships, and it's going to start with this back-to-school bash and get to know people on a name-to-name basis, to care for them and to let them know that we are here to stay. So as we adopt a family, it's not just even the back-to-school bash. We're going to walk with them on Thanksgiving. We're going to walk with them on Christmas. And as you adopt a family, that's going to be like your family that you check in on, that you, hey, how are you doing? Is there anything I can pray for you about? It's not just, hey, Whammy, go drop off your school supplies. It's, I really want you to get to know them. So that's going to be our focus, and we are still going to August the 8th. So August the 7th from 12 to 3, we'll be here, and the kids will get free haircuts, free school supplies. The families will be able to come. We need men to come play basketball and football with the kids. But if you want to get involved with that, Heather and Tamara will have a table right outside of church for the next few weeks. And I'm truly excited about this. And I've thought about it. I want people here next year to say, because they was intentional with me, I came to Matthew's Table. And I want kids to be like, Mom, that's that church that has loved me. That's that church that bought me school supplies. That's that church that gave me that free haircut. Like, I don't know how, like, if you know how huge that is. And more importantly than even this event, like, I would like us as a church to commit to praying for this every day. So as we meet this family, like, one thing I've thought about is, like, the enemy is going to hate this. Like, the enemy is going to hate how intentional that we're about to be. So the one thing that we can do to combat that is to be on our knees praying for this every single day. And as everything we do and any outreach that we do, we've had to ask ourselves, why is it that we do what we do at Matthew's Table? So in doing this outreach now, I think that's the question that Tamara and Heather have asked, like, why do we do a back to school bash? Why do we give back on Thanksgiving and Christmas? And, you know, like, really, I want us to ask some questions as we prepare to jump into this word this morning. Honestly, I want you to think about it. Like, I want you to personalize it. Like, why do you give? Because we can just get in the habit of doing certain things, like, I just give because that's what I've always done, or I give because that's what I see my parents do. But I want you to ask the question, like, why would I adopt a family? Why do I serve? Why do I even come to church? Why do I pray? Why do I fast? Why do I need to get plugged in? You can even ask yourself, why am I even here today? Here's what I'll say as we're thinking about those questions. It's not about what you do, it's about why you do it. It's not about how you do it, it's about who you're doing it for. And we can look the part, we can dress the part, and we can even act the part. But if Jesus isn't the main motivation and why we do what we do, then we're doing it for the wrong reason. We'll be in Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 6, where Jesus is addressing doing the right things with the wrong motivations. Verse 1. Beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. For then you will have no reward for your Father who is in heaven. Thus, when you give to the needy, sound no trumpet before you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may be praised by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received the reward. But when you give to the needy, and not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. And your Father who sees you in secret will reward you. And when you pray, you must not be like the hypocrites, for they love to stand and pray in the synagogues and at the street corners, that they may be seen by others. Truly, I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you pray, go into your room and shut the door and pray to your Father who is in secret. And your Father who is in secret will reward you. Here's something I struggle with. I struggle to answer questions around people who I view smarter than me. I struggle with praying around people who I feel like are better at praying than me. And I struggle with speaking around people that I feel like speak better than me. Before I get home today, here's what I'll do. I'll think of all the dumb things that I said today. I'll think of every time I rambled. I'll ask my wife hey, did what I say even make sense? And every failure in my mind, it'll be highlighted to me. If there was a great speaker up here, I would be thinking about how good they are and all the things that they can do better than me. Honestly, you would probably never know this, but my mind is a constant people-pleasing, grading myself machine. Maybe you struggle with the same thing. Like, maybe you think about, like, they're better than me. They sang better than me. They serve better than me. And maybe you think your answer is the answer that doesn't sound right. That you don't have the big platform like other people. And maybe you think that your prayers aren't as elegant, poetic, and angelic as the person who can seem to pray the house down. Have you ever been in a prayer circle where someone uses thunderous words, and when it comes your turn to pray, you felt like God just really heard their prayer and that yours wasn't as good? Like I've felt like that. Like I've been in prayer circles where I felt like everybody else's prayers were so good that I just kind of wanted to slide out of the back like, Nick, you ain't that good. Like I've been in prayer circles where it's like, hey, y'all got this. Like God really just heard y'all. And I don't even know if I have a deep enough voice to get that loud. So to keep up in these prayer circles, when I knew the prayer would be coming to me, you know what I would start doing? I would start rehearsing what I was going to say. I would start picking words in my mind that I felt like was going to make sense. So in my mind, I would prepare a prayer that sounded like, magnificent, holy God, creator of all creators, builder of all builders, healer of all healers, you are my everything, my all in all, the superior one. Until it was my turn, I would be going back and forth on what sounded better and what I felt like was good enough to say. Here's what I'm not saying: that those big, loud prayers are bad. I'm not saying those thunderous prayers aren't great. But what I always have to remind myself, and anyone struggles with comparison or the same thing, is I rehearse my prayers because I was more concerned about people's reactions than I was with God's. I was more worried about what they thought about me than what God thought about me. And what I was doing was I was performing for an audience of many rather than an audience of one. Jesus, the whole Sermon on the Mount, goes beneath the surface and says it's not just about doing certain things, but it's about doing certain things with the right motivation. Jesus is always teaching us to look upward and to live to please God rather than people. He teaches us how to give with the right motivations, how to pray with the right motivations, how to fast with the right motivations. Jesus makes us ask the question, are we doing the right things for the wrong reasons? Do we have the wrong motivations? As you're thinking about that, and like we have to consider, when we do things with the posture of look at me, when we do things with the posture of I'm going to blow the trumpet so they see me, they're looking at you and not to the cross. You know what we're saying? Give me the glory. Give me the shine. I want people to look at me. But what they should be looking at is Jesus. And for me, this is a hard one. Because I think about, like, what's the balance? Like, I think about, like, what is the right response to this? Because in Matthew chapter 5, Jesus will tell us, hey, let your light shine before people so that they will glorify God. And then in this verse, he's saying, like, hey, when you do it in secret. So I always think, like, what is the right response to do this, Jesus? And if you're on Facebook long enough, you'll see a picture circulating about there's a guy helping a needy family, and he'll be taking a selfie. And people will say, like, hey, you shouldn't do this. And every time I see that picture, I think about, like, times that I posted that I was helping people, or that, you know, what God was doing with the bus pass ministry. And I just think, like, God, exactly what should we do? Exactly how do we do this? And this is where Jesus, the whole Sermon on the Mount, says it's not about what you do, it's about why you do it.
Come on.
Like, why are you posting that picture? Is it to bring you glory? or is it to bring me glory? Like, why are you giving to the needy? Is it for you or is it for me? And when are people saying you are great, or are people saying that I am great? The wrong response to the picture is when it says me. The right response to the picture is when it says that's God. Yeah. Only God could do that. So the picture isn't always wrong. It's the motivation behind the picture that's wrong. A thunderous prayer isn't wrong. It's the motivation behind a thunderous prayer. It's my heart that I want people to say, man, Nick, that prayer was so good. You just prayed the house down. You just used words that I never even heard of. D.L. Moody explains it this way. We are told to let our light shine. And if it does, we don't need to tell anyone that it does. Lighthouses don't fire cannons to call attention to their shining. They just shine. Lighthouses don't fire cannons to call attention to their shining. They just shine. When Christ changes your life, you don't have to go around yelling, hey, Christ changed my life. People will see that Christ changed your life. Like your family starts to take notice without you even telling them. They'll say, hey, Whammy, something's different about you. Nick, something's different about you. You're walking with a different walk. You're glowing with a different kind of glow. You can't go from death to life and have a real encounter with Jesus and that be a private thing. Like, people will see it. People will take notice. Like, the world will take notice. You can't have a real encounter with Jesus and keep that secret. A real relationship with Jesus will change what you do, how you do it, and why you do it. Verse 1 says, beware of practicing your righteousness before other people in order to be seen by them. That's the wrong motivation, to be seen by people, to be seen by them. When you're after the reward now, he says, beware. You're in the danger zone. What's your motivation? Is this about you or is this about me? Is this about your kingdom or is this about mine? And honestly, I think churches are in the danger zone of this always. We're always in the danger zone of, are we waving the flag of Matthew's Table because we want to be the biggest church in town? Because we want people to make much of Matthew's Table. And preachers, me, pastors, I'm in the danger zone of this always because, we can easily start preaching for amens and hallelujahs. We can easily start saying things for our reward now. So I think asking ourselves these questions and reminding ourselves of why we do what we do helps us stay focused on the vision. When it's a why we do what we do rather than, is this big or not, 2 people could come or 200 and the vision remain the same. And I was talking to Tamara and she said, Nick, right now we only have 8 families. I wonder how people will feel about that. I wonder if they'll be less excited about that. But the vision doesn't change whether it's 8 families or 800 families. We're here to serve. We're here to be intentional. We're here to love them. When the vision and why you do what you do, then the motivation stay the same. Whether the Pope walks in here or a prostitute, we preach the same message. Because the gospel is the same and they need them both. Who would we be if I was to get up here and say, hey, look, church, local celebrity Rob Penny's in the building. Local race car driver Rob Penny showed up today. And if y'all could, because Rob Penny's at church today, could y'all take less bathroom breaks? Could y'all put away the e-cigs? Could y'all sit still for a while because we want to make a good impression on Rob Penny? And because he showed up today and because his family likes wearing matching outfits, what if I was then to say, hey, we need to start dressing up a little bit better. We don't want to run Rob and his family away. By the way, Rob didn't get the memo on the outfits, but you can see him later. But like, what if we was to do that? Like, hey, we really need to spice it up this week. We want Rob and his family to come. Tithing's going to go up. We want their family to serve here. Like, we want to attract those kind of people. That would be for the wrong motivations. Churches do it every day. I'm telling you, I've been around a long time where you make a lot of money and you get pushed to the deacon spot. You dress a certain way, you get pushed to the forefront. And that's doing the right things for the wrong motivations. Like, I want Matthew's Table to be a place where homeowners and homeless can worship together with the right motivations. Like, I want Matthew's Table to be a place where you can wear a suit and tie, or you can worship in a cut-off shirt. I want Matthew's Table to be a place where rich people or poor people and black people and white people and old people and young people can all worship Jesus together because the motivation is all the same. It's all about Him. It's not about a certain agenda, whether you benefit me or not. It's not about whether you are, you have these great gifts or not. It's about, do you love Jesus or do you not? Like, if you're coming to Matthew's Table for any other reason than to see Jesus, then you're coming for the wrong reasons. Matthew's Table is a church where someone has handed me their drugs at the altar before. Matthew's Table is a church where you don't have to be the most talented singer to be on the worship team. Matthew's Table is a church where you don't have to have 5 degrees to lead a ministry. We are a church of many backgrounds with many different stories, all serving and worshiping a God who saves. So again, I asked you, what's your motivation for serving? What's your motivation for giving? What's your motivation for praying? Because notice in verses 1 through 6, he doesn't say, if you give, do it this way. He doesn't say, if you pray, do it this way. He says, when you give and when you pray. Jesus wants us to be givers and He wants us to pray. He just wants us to do it with the right reasons, with the right motivations. He doesn't want us to perform for the people or to be like the hypocrites who do it to be seen doing it. In Greek, that's what a hypocrite was. It was an actor who would put on a performance. So when they would say, hey, look at that hypocrite, they were saying, look at that actor who was putting on a good performance. The hypocrites were trumpet blowers that screamed, look at the way I pray. Look at the way I give. Look at the way I serve. They craved to be seen and they wanted everyone to know what they were doing. They loved to stand in the synagogues and in the street corners that they may be seen by others. In other words, they were spotlight thieves. They was glory thieves. They took the glory from where it truly belonged and they said, hey, look at my performance. Look at what I'm doing. Here's the balance though. Jesus isn't saying that no one can see you doing good things or that you can't pray out loud. He's just saying, don't do it to be seen doing it. Place the glory where it truly belongs. I don't want you ever leaving here saying, Nick is the best. I want you to leave here saying, Jesus is the best. Like, I don't want you leaving here saying, look at that awesome worship team. I want you to leave here thinking about who we are worshiping. And if you leave here thinking about what I did good or what someone did good, then you left with the wrong reasons and you didn't really see Christ on full display. That's why we didn't change the message, because it's Independence Day, because we're always going to preach independence through Jesus. Like, we're not going to preach the red, white, and blue, let's go watch fireworks, because we're going to point you to the greatest thing, which is Him. That's why we have to always ask ourselves, like, why do we do what we do? Like, even for the youth, like, Why do we send our kids to youth camp? Why do we send our kids to kids' table? Why do we serve in certain ministries? Why do we give to the church? And when you figure out that answer with the right motivations, it's because we want to make much of Jesus. We're performing for an audience of one. And here's a question that I had to deal with all week, because this is one of my biggest struggles, because I can be real good at putting on the smile and the I'm fine. I've had to ask myself this question. Is my public giving known more than my private giving? Is my public prayer life better than my private prayer life? Like I asked myself that this morning. Is my public prayer life better than my private prayer life? Is my public Bible reading better than my private Bible reading? Like that's a question that I've had to deal with all week. And I really think when you're in ministry, this is a dangerous place you can find yourself in. Because you want to be the person that says, I'm okay. Like you want to be the person that says, I'm fine. And the enemy would love for you to go on and to think that you can be real and vulnerable. And he loves for you to put on the mask and dress up the outside while the inside is falling apart. You know what the enemy loves for you to do? He loves for you to pretend. He loves it. He loves for you to keep acting. Like the enemy would want nothing more than you to walk in here Sunday to Sunday and put on the act. Like the enemy would want nothing more than you to keep on performing because it's Oscar worthy. Like he wants you to keep on saying, I'm fine. He wants you to keep on saying, hey man, I'm okay. I'm in my D group. I went to small church. I came to church. Like, I'm fine. Like, Nick, what are you talking about? I'm okay. And the whole time the insides is falling apart and you're struggling, but you can't tell nobody about it because you want to protect your platform. You want to protect your ministry. You want to protect whatever image that you have. But here's what God doesn't care about your image. He cares about your relationship with him.
Come on.
Like if he has to break your image to push you back closer to him, then that's a great thing. Here's the thing. God doesn't love the masked up version of Nick. He doesn't love the made up version of me that says I'm fine. God loves you with your flaws and all. And you can go to God with brokenness with 1,000 words, or you can go to God with no words at all.
That's right.
Like you do not have to have the perfect words to pray. You don't have to have the perfect language to go to God. You don't have to have the perfect, I just know what to say. Like sometimes you just need to go to God and sit in silence. I'm just going to spend time with you. When you realize that God loves you without the mask, there's no pressure to perform because we realize he performed it all for us. Like there's no pressure for me from a holy God who says, Nick, before I created you, I knew you would drop the ball. Before I gave my life for you, I knew you was a sinner. That takes all the pressure off me to be this certain type of guy and to perform for you guys. And I love this quote that Bella said as we was home vacation. She ran into the ocean with all of her clothes on, and she said something we say in our household always. If you're free, then be free. And I think that's a great reminder for the church today. If you're free, then be free. You don't have to wear the mask. You don't have to put on the act. You don't have to be a part of the show. Like you can go to Jesus in your brokenness. You can go to him in your realness, and he perfectly understands. Like, do you know how freeing it is that you don't have to be a Greek scholar to pray? You don't have to have a degree in kids ministry to lead the kids ministry. Like one of my favorite things about Matthew's Table is it seems like we're a bunch of people that other churches maybe wouldn't have let lead a ministry. and I think they're the best person for the job. And it's like, man, do you know how much we're missing out on with the pressure to perform a certain way? So here's what I'll do when I'm in prayer circles, is I want them to say, great job, Nick. That was a great prayer, Nick. Attaboy, Nick. Good job, Nick. And the problem is I want them to say Nick instead of Jesus. In my heart, if you're not careful, it'll always take you there. If my heart, it will always say, hey, why don't they ever let me do that? Why don't they ever give me the glory? Why don't they ever recognize me? And Lecrae has a quote that I love. It says, if you live for people's acceptance, you will die from their rejection. In other words, if you live for the applause of men, it will kill you when they no longer applaud. It will kill you when they no longer give you the glory. It will kill you when they're no longer looking at you. And here's what I know. One day there will be someone, and there already is, way more talented than me. There will be someone who sings better than me. There will be someone who worships better than me. There's always going to be someone who prays better than me. But the problem is, I should have my eyes on Jesus instead of them.
Come on.
Like Jesus, what he has for me, no one else can take away, whether they're talented or not. And that quote, if you live for people's acceptance, you'll die from their rejection, I think that sums up those 6 verses. Are you after your reward now? Or would you rather have your reward from your Father in heaven? Because Jesus wasn't condemning righteous acts themselves. Like serving and giving are good. Letting your light shine is good. But what Jesus is doing, the whole Sermon on the Mount, is he goes beneath the surface. He goes to the core of the heart and he asks you the question, what is your motivation? Like, would you do what you do if you got no credit for it at all? Like, that's a question I always have to ask myself. Like, Nick, would you do what you do if you got no credit for you? Or would you do what you do if someone else got the credit for it? Because it boils down to why you do what you do. What's your motivation behind it? Wanting to serve, I used to cook breakfast at St. Benedict's every month. And I'll tell y'all a story about how God convicted me. And he showed me the pride that was in my heart. I loved cooking for the guys. I believed I had the right motivation for cooking down there. And I loved serving. Every month we would go with the crew. And month after month, I would buy all the food and make sure everyone was there. And I would work hard to prepare all the food. And I was sure that I was doing it with pure motives and that I wasn't trying to gain anything. And I wasn't blowing the trumpet as these verses would describe. In my heart, I really felt like I didn't need any recognition for what I was doing. I didn't want any reward. I was just down there to serve. I was just down there to give, and I wasn't bragging one bit. Here's the day that all changed. We were down there, and as usual, we was in a line that was about to serve, and the director of St. Benedict said, I would like to thank the man who made all this possible. And me, I can be like a false humble, like, man, no need. Yeah, I don't need the glory. And that's a false humility because really I'm on the inside like, yeah. So he was down there like, he was saying, like, man, I would like to thank the man who always makes this possible. He's here month after month, and he's always serving, and we're so grateful for this guy. Guess what? He didn't say my name. He said another guy's name. And no one knew it, but it ate me alive. On the outside, I clapped. Like, yeah, man, go. He did a good job. But on the inside, I was fuming. See, I didn't want to be seen until someone else got the credit. I didn't want to be recognized until someone else got the recognition that I felt like I deserved. And guess what? I forgot why I was there serving in the first place. That day, God showed me how prideful I can be on the inside. And he pulled sin out of me that I didn't even know I was there.
Come on now.
Like I didn't even know that was inside of me until he got the hand clap that I felt like that I deserved. That he got the recognition. I'm like, hold up. I bought this food every month. I made sure they was down here. You gave the hand clap to the wrong guy. And I thought I didn't need to be seen until someone else got the pedestal that I felt like I should have been on. And here's where you can find yourself in the danger zone. You can think, that's not me. I don't need any reward. I don't have to pray out loud. I don't give like that. And I've seen this even go further. And people will say, look, I'm not even going to put my name on a tithing envelope because I don't want you to know it came from me. So they go even further and further and further. But the people that Jesus are talking about in these verses, guess what they did? They did everything that they thought they were supposed to be doing. They gave, they served, they fasted, but the problem is they did it with the wrong motivations, and that's a very easy trap to fall into. What's the qualifications to be on our prayer team at Matthew's Table? Just be someone that will pray. Sign your name on the board and show up to pray before service. That's the qualification. It's not, hey, let me hear your prayer. Let me see if I got chills. You know, I've been there. Let me see if you gave me you made my hair stand up. Just be someone that will pray. Be someone that will commit to praying, whether it's in private or in public, whether you're praying right here or you're praying behind there. Like, just be someone that prays, because it's not about what you pray. It's about who you're praying to. It's not about what you give. It's about why you give. Here's what's helped me over the years. This really helps me, that God understands. When I realized that God understood my below average GPA education, that he understood my East End of Owensboro accent, it helped me open up and pray a lot better. Like, I didn't have to go to God with this outlandish, like, God knows the real Nick Martin.
Come on now.
Like, God knows the real Mary. God knows the real Whammy. God knows the real Michael. And it's not me to be Mary or Whammy. I need to go to God with Nick. Like, Donald needs to go to God with Donald. Like, you don't have to be me and I don't have to be you. And that's so freeing.
Amen.
Like, that's so freeing that God made me who I am. And that I didn't have to be like anyone else. Like, I don't have to preach like Roger. I don't have to preach like Stephen or Jeremy Hatfield. I can preach like Nick.
Come on.
And here's what God has shown me this week. If you only worship in public, that's a problem.
Come on.
If you only pray in public, that's a problem. If you only give in public, that's your problem, because nothing, I'll tell you, nothing can replace private, intimate relationship time with God.
That's
Like, is your private prayer life as good as your public prayer life? Is the face you put on in public who you are in private? Or would we be amazed to see, wow, they was putting on a good show. Wow, they was the greatest actor. At Matthew's Table, you don't have to be an actor. You can be real. You can be broken. You can be authentic. If you struggle with sin, confess that you struggle with sin. You don't have to go into the Bible study and say, man, I really know what Romans 9 means. God gave me this. You can go in there and say, man, I don't even know what I just read. And that's okay. You don't have to be this high, fluent type of person. Go to God with who you are. Go to him daily. Worship team can start making their way up. Here's what I've thought about before. Tell me how foolish this would sound if my daughter did this. Father, Nick Martin, Daddy, tonight if I wake up in the middle of the night, I know, could I get a glass of tea from the refrigerator that you provided me? Dad, the one who tucks me in. Dad, the one who wakes me up in the morning. Father, would you mind to go to the store and buy me cereal so that I could eat it in the morning? Do you know what I would be like? Bella, be quiet. Get you a bowl of cereal. I'm your dad and I love you and I know you.
Come on.
You don't have to come to me in any other way than to be Bella. Be my daughter. And I think that's the right posture that we go to God with. You don't have to go to God with anything other than what you are, who He created you to be. God, I'm a sinner who needs you. I'm a guy, a broken man or woman who needs you. And I don't even know the words to say, but you know the words that I'm thinking.
Come on.
You know the words that my heart are speaking.
Yeah.
Like you know me better than I know myself. And I would rather us go to God in that than in Greek or Aramaic or Hebrew any day of the week.
Come on.
Like I don't want us to go to God like Bella would come to me and, Dad, could you please open the refrigerator that you provided? Like I would tell her to be quiet and sit down. And I'll probably tell her, no, you can't get in the fridge till you ask me regular. But that's what we do with God, right? Like we really think that before we speak to God, that we have to have our act together, that we have to have our words right, that we have to dress the part and look the part. Like I know so many people that think, well, I'm going to go to God when I clean myself up first. I'm going to go to God when I finally got it all together. I'm going to go to God all made up. And I think God is saying, come to me in your brokenness. Come to me in the private like you would come to me in public and be more concerned about what I think about you than what they think about you. Because I've seen it. You can go to church for years and years and years and years and years and years. You could go to church your whole life and everybody thinks you got it all together and everybody thinks you're happy. And the inside you're struggling and crumbling. And the problem is you think you can't be real about it. I'm here to tell you, you can. You can be real with a real God. You know what the enemy wants? He wants you to go home today with your I'm fine speech. He wants you to go home thinking, I'm fine. This ain't me. I'm okay. I don't fake it. And really, I think there's a part of all of us that struggle with this.
Come on.
Like, I don't know if you struggle with it, but I know I do.
Come on.
I love to put on a performance.
Come on now.
I love when people say, good job, Nick. I love when my posts get shared. I love when people say, Nick, you're doing a mighty fine job. And I could preach this sermon to myself every day. Nick, be more devoted to your private prayer life to God than your public prayer life to God. That's what I reminded myself of all week preparing for this. That's what Jesus changes is our motivations.
Right.
He takes it from being all about us to being all about Him. He takes our messes and makes them messages. Like Whammy and Tyrone and a few other people in this room, they can't say, look at the work I've done. They should say, look at the work God has done. God gets all the glory. So when you're praying, like know who you're praying to. When you're putting on the I'm fine act, God sees right through that. When you're putting on the I'm okay image, God sees right through that. God sees under that stuff and He says, love me in private like you love me in public. Worship me in private like you worship me in public. Like you don't have to wait to church for the worship team to start playing for you to worship God. You can worship God at work. You can worship God in your living room. You can worship God in your car. The problem is if you only worship in here, then you're worshiping with the wrong motivations. If you only raise your hands in here, then you're raising your hands with the wrong motivation. Love God in private like you love Him in public. If you don't know God today, He's a good Father
Yeah.
who loves you regardless of the act, regardless of the show you put on. He sees right through that. And He wants you to go to Him broken and authentic. And sometimes the best thing God can do for us is to say, I'm going to break you enough to where you have to get real with me. That was the best thing that God ever did for me, is He made me throw in the towel, and He made me realize, look, I can't fix myself. I'm not fine. I'm going crazy. I lost my family. I've ruined everything. I'm a felon. I did it all. And God says, look, quit putting on the act and come to me. That's what God does. If you've been putting on the act for far too long, I would say love God in private like you claim to love Him in public. And here's what I wanted us to do this week. And I started this today. I want us to spend the first 15 minutes as a church every day going to God in private. Like, before you grab your phone, this Sunday to next Sunday, let's go to God in prayer. Like, you don't have to post it. I did my 15 minutes. I did this. Like, I want us to spend as a church with the right motivations our first 15 minutes in prayer every day this week. That shouldn't be abnormal.
Right.
That shouldn't be hard. But as I found myself doing it this morning, 15 minutes, I felt like I had prayed for the whole world. I was like, man, I prayed for so much. I was like, and it was just 15 minutes. But the best thing that God revealed to me during that time this morning was, Nick, this should be a daily thing.
That's right.
You know why I struggle when I struggle? It's because I'm not spending intimate time with Jesus.
Come on.
I'm not spending real time with Jesus. And I come to church and I do my studies and I do my prayer stuff and I text my people and I meet with my discipler. And guess what I'm good at? I'm fine.
Come on.
And the whole time I'm falling apart. And the whole time I'm not being real. And God says, look, you can be real with me. Thank you.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the sermon. If you guys would like to stay connected to us and what we're doing, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or you can like us on Facebook.
You can also visit our website at MatthewsTableOnesBro.com. A cool feature on our website is we have a prayer wall. You can place your prayer on there and someone will be praying for you. To partner with us financially, you can text the number 73256 with Matthew's Table with no space in between. Because of your giving, we can be a missional church that reaches the lost and goes hits the streets for Jesus. Thank you.